Well, you're a federal senator, Amanda, and what does this say about the state of our federation right now when the federal government seems to be powerless to do anything about this border closure, which is deeply unfair? It's actually fatal in the case of this poor child and that family. We've heard all sorts of other things, and yet Annastacia Palaszczuk is able to run this as an election issue, and the evidence I've seen is that a lot of people in Queensland still seem to be buying this tough on the border approach. What avenue is there for the feds to do something about this, and would you like to see them doing more?
Well, the Constitution says in Section 92 that intercourse between the states shall be absolutely free. It'll be interesting to see what the High Court has to say about that. There are ways to curtail that for proportionality and so forth, but the words shall be absolutely free, they seem pretty decisive. And so it will be interesting to see what they've got to say. The PM, though, I'm pleased to see, has been ramping up the pressure on the states to realise that Australia does best when we don't have hard parochial attitudes, that when we can trade amongst each other, when we can move freely as a country, we do our best economically and socially. That's why we came together as 6 states and 2 territories to make a federation. It's been the underpinning of our prosperity, and we shouldn't lose sight of that.
Well, we've got to recognise the National Cabinet gave Palaszczuk and Andrews such power that they've, in my opinion, abused it completely. Rita, I wanted to ask Amanda about this topic to do with the ACT, another maverick left-wing entity, where they've come out with what they're calling a kind of anti-gay conversion therapy. But basically any parent, any mental health practitioner, any religious leader or any teacher who is accused of trying to change the self-declared gender identity of children risks 12 months in prison. Amanda, what do you make of this?
This law should scare all right-thinking people, and it's for, I think, 3 key reasons. The first is that there is no barbaric conversion therapy going on. It is not a practice that is advocated for or inflicted upon people who are questioning their sexuality, and it hasn't been for decades. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that, as you've identified, Rowan, it potentially inflicts criminal penalties, imprisonment, upon parents, psychologists, teachers, doctors who are just trying to provide care and support, particularly to young people who are struggling with the difficult questions associated with gender identity. And to do that is not only harmful to that child because they're not getting the support they need, but it also strips parents of their responsibility, their right, indeed their duty to raise and socialise their children to cope with the world around them. It's a terrifying thing that a psychologist could be sent to prison for providing sensible, measured care that says, well, let's just watchfully wait until your developing brain has got to the point where you can make decisions that will last for the long term. In circumstances where suicide rates for people who have undergone affirmative model transition are so bad, anything of this nature is nothing short of negligent. And the third problem I see... Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. And the third problem I see is that it denies people who are struggling with their gender with the best of medical care, because by locking them into this affirmative model, we don't question it, we don't test it, we don't try new things that are necessary to make sure this vulnerable group are getting the very best of medical science.